Okay, 8th grade Wolves, we're getting into content. It's been about 2 weeks and we are officially starting that Unit 1. And Unit 1 takes a minute to review PEMDAS or order of operations. So the idea that you need to have a methodical approach to solving complex expressions or equations. And this is what they're getting tomorrow, Friday. They're gonna work through it in class, but I will likely assign a few to take home. And this video is to help you and your student remember the steps. Now they also have a graphic notebook that contains these steps and they've been practicing this week. So let's get started. We're gonna do number 1 together.
Typically, we refer to order of operations by using the acronym PEMDAS. Now, PEMDAS is a way for us to remember what order to do things so that we derive the consistent answers each time. The first step is parentheses. This particular example and their worksheet doesn't have any, and we'll be getting into parentheses as we move through the year. Essentially, though, you work within the parentheses to solve the rest of PEMDAS before you move on. From there, you'll want to move through E, M, D, A, and S. E being the exponents, M and D together, you'll see I've highlighted in the same color. That's because you move through multiplication and division from left to right, no matter what comes first. You do the same protocol for addition and subtraction, moving left to right through whatever has remained in the problem to solve. Let's begin with this one. Okay, so as mentioned, this particular problem does not have any parentheses. So this is done. The next step is exponents. We see right here that we can work on an exponent. Remember that an exponent is just asking you to multiply the base times itself. So 9 squared is actually 9 times 9. I prefer our students to not use calculators in this unit, but if you need to, that's fine. We also have multiplication table charts, and you would find this to be 81. One of the challenges of order of operations is staying organized, as you're going to be doing a lot of arithmetic. So I like to write the original equation, but replace my 9 squared with what I've turned it into. This makes sure that I don't forget anything. So notice instead of 9 squared, I put 81. Okay? Now we're going to focus on, we've done our exponent, all of the multiplication and division moving from left to right. Again, you may run into division first, but multiplication and division go hand in hand, and so it's important to do it from left to right. 6 minus 12 does not apply to this, but 12 divided by 4 does. 3. Plus is not part of this, but 81 times 2 is. 81 times 2 is something that's pretty tricky, but on the side, we can work through 80 times 2 and 1 times 2, breaking it down by place value so we don't have to do the math that's a little bit more challenging. 1 times 2 is 2. 8 times 2 is 16, so 80 times 2 is 160. That makes this 162. If you wanted to do this the old school way, you could always set it up like this. Sometimes this is the simpler method. I like to show a lot of methods in class just in case one works better than the other. And I find when I do that, students advocate for themselves and say, hey, can you show me a different method? It's a great way to learn. Let me go ahead and write down anything else that I haven't taken care of. Now I've done my multiplication and my division, it's time to move on to addition and subtraction. The same thing applies here though. Even though it's subtraction first, these two are buddies and we have to go left to right. 6 minus 3 is 3, plus 162, making the answer 165. I like them to circle their answer because if they're not kind of nice and tidy, then they may get lost in it and it's difficult to find their answer. So we want to make a habit of indicating to the teacher what our final answer is. So this is one of the units that the topics we'll be covering in this unit. We'll also get into the real number system, and I'll post a video about that next week.
Okay, so with the method, PEMDAS and order of operations isn't too tricky. Some of these you're going to want to second guess yourself, but rely on that method and you should be okay. I highly encourage you to write down each step. Your student must show their work to get full credit. Some of my friends don't like doing that as much as the others. I also want to point out that most of the homework assigned is given a week-long due date. And so many of us have decided to sort of give the advice of taking 15 minutes each day to work on something from one of their classes. I like to put all of the things I have to do on a spinner wheel app, and then it decides for me what I'm going to focus on. For example, if I put all of my subjects on a spinner wheel and I hit it for Tuesday night and it hits math, oh, I don't like math. That's okay. I only have to do 15 minutes. I make a dedication to myself, a commitment to myself that I'm going to work hard for 15 minutes, and I set that timer. If you have a visual timer, that's also really helpful. And then I tackle 15 minutes of work. Maybe that's one problem, maybe that's the whole page, but we're creating a consistent habit of working on our schoolwork and remembering to manage our task load, okay? So you guys can do this. Let me know if you have any questions.